Hey there, good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm Brian Manning, and this is the Asylum Answers Show. I'm an asylum lawyer. I'm an ex-asylum officer with the government, but now as an asylum lawyer. My law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. And today I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. First of all, say hello. Let me see who we got and where you're at. Say hello in the comments. Let me see where you're watching from. I'd love to hear where you guys are at. Yes, got them coming in. Hello on YouTube. Hello to you. Good to see you guys. We got Amar says hello from VA, from Virginia. We got Badru, my man Badru in Massachusetts. Hey, Huds, thanks for being here. Up in Seattle, he says. We got Farad, our client from New York, he says. Nice. Thanks for joining, Farad. Long Outdoors, thanks for commenting, boosting that algorithm. I appreciate it. We got how bad could Texas be, says Mad FAC on TikTok. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm Brian Manning. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, and then start leaving your questions in the comment box. Leave your questions in the chat. I'm going to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. We got Dogokan says hello from Boston. We got Kenyon says hello, watching from Milwaukee. Nice. We got Cedric says hello, Cedric from Houston. Nice. H-Town. We got Kevin asking a question. We got Una says hi here in California. Nice. All over the country. And our clients are all over the country, all right? We're based in Texas, but it doesn't really matter where we're based because we can help people all over the country. We have lots of clients, of course, in Texas. We have lots of clients in California, Florida, New York, around Chicago, around Atlanta, everywhere in between. All right. We help immigrants all over the country. If you want to talk with us about your situation and see if we think that we're in a position to help you, go to winasylum.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. It's WINASYLUM.com. That's winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. When I checked earlier, it looked like there was a couple spots left for this week. So if you want to talk with us, you got to understand the spots are filling up quickly because people are really scared. They're anxious and worried about what's happening with Trump, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But listen, if you want to talk with us, grab a spot now. Go right now to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Serge says hello from North Carolina. Nice. Serge, thanks for being here. Adeleke says hello. All right, let me know where you're watching from, guys. And then go ahead. Start leaving your questions in the chat, okay? I want to share some news with you guys, right? Look, so there's been a lot going on recently in the news with Trump's inauguration and a flurry of announcements about actions that they're taking with regard to immigration. And a lot of these actions that they have taken and are going to take probably in the coming days and weeks and months are going to affect asylum seekers. They're going to affect lots of immigrants. And I want to tell you today about a few things. There's been so many, it's hard to keep up with, right? We're keeping up with them. But it can be overwhelming. It can feel overwhelming to you guys. So I pulled together a few of the top things that I think you should know about and that might be of interest to you and people in your communities, people that you live and work with, maybe your family members that could be affected by some of this stuff that Trump has already done. So I want to tell you about it. And look, the first thing, probably the biggest announcement that came on Trump's inauguration day on January 20th was the fact that he wants to end birthright citizenship. So he announced that the federal government is going to stop recognizing basically people who were born in the United States. They're going to stop recognizing them as citizens if they were born to undocumented parents or even parents that were on a valid temporary non-immigrant visa. That's what the executive order says. So if you're born here and you didn't have a parent here who had either citizenship or permanent residency, Trump is saying we don't consider you to be a citizen. And as you can see here from the New York Times, 22 states have sued to stop this to basically have a judge tell Trump, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. These are obviously citizens. So what is the controversy about? Well, you can see here that people are calling it extraordinary and extreme. That's what New Jersey's Attorney General has said about Trump's order. He's not a king. He cannot rewrite the Constitution with the stroke of a pen. They're saying this because the Constitution says who is considered a citizen, and there is an amendment, the 14th Amendment, that explicitly says that people born here are citizens. We have this concept or this legal framework called jus soli, which means if you're born on the soil of the United States, except for very specific exceptions, apart from those specific exceptions, if you're born in the United States, you are a citizen. And the law has been the 14th Amendment of the Constitution has been interpreted for hundreds of years. This to mean exactly what it sounds like it means, that people born here are citizens, right? So these states are suing to say, Trump, you can't do that. And the issue here is that in the interim, before this hopefully gets overturned by a judge and kicked out, the State Department is not going to be issuing passports to these people unless they can prove they had a parent who had permanent residency or U.S. citizenship when they were born here. And that's a problem. That's a very, very big deal, that someone can't avail themselves to all of the rights of citizenship, including things like getting a passport, because of this illegal act. Now, I have high confidence that the courts are going to disagree with Donald Trump and tell him that this is wrong and he can't do this, and it's going to overturn it eventually. But it's going to take time. Look, I mean, even this Supreme Court that is stacked by Donald Trump is I think unlikely to agree with him on this issue. This is a pretty clear-cut black and white issue. And so I do think that this is going to get overturned, but in the interim, it's not good, right? It's hard for people and it's scary. And, Trump is sending a loud warning shot, trying to send a strong message with this move to get, to cut to like the very heart of all immigration matters, of who gets to be a citizen and, who does not. So this is tough. All right. That's one piece of news I wanted to share with you. Next up, a couple of things on the border, concerning the border. Trump, we see in NPR, Trump reinforces his use of his Remain in Mexico policy. This is another announcement from Inauguration Day. What is Remain in Mexico policy? Biden did this as well, and Trump started it. Biden has used it as well. Biden ended it, but then more or less reinstated it. It's a policy whereby when people come to the southern border to seek asylum, they are told by our immigration personnel at the border, nope, can't come in, can't seek asylum, or at least you can't be in the United States when you do so. They're allowed to apply, but they get kicked out, sent back to Mexico to wait in Mexico while their immigration court process runs its course in the United States. When it's time for a hearing, they get a phone call or a text message that says, come to the border, and they get to come into the United States just to go to a courtroom near the border. And this is working a significant hardship on asylum seekers, right? Because it's dangerous. It's hard and dangerous, especially given that they have to stay in the border areas, because when you get that call, you got to be there like the next day for your hearing or you'll miss it. So you can't go, someplace much safer like Mexico City that's far away. You got to be around the border areas, and that is hard and dangerous. It's very dangerous. So Trump announced that, we're going back to the Remain in Mexico policy. Now, Mexico has pushed back a little bit and said, wait a second, we're not going to take all these people that come up to your border and have you kick them back down here to us. We're not okay with that. We're not great with that. So there is some diplomatic tension that is building over this. So we'll have to watch and see how that unfolds. All right, more news about the border from the Texas Tribune. We see that migrants at Texas border in shock after Trump canceled their asylum appointments. What is this about? This is talking about the CBP1 application, CBP1 app. This is an application on your phone that you can download if you're outside of the United States and you want to make an appointment to come and try to apply for asylum. you can do that coming up from Mexico to the southern border. And the idea is, instead of just showing up randomly at the border or trying to cross illegally, you use this app to schedule an appointment with immigration officials to start this process of seeking asylum. And the idea by the Biden administration that instituted this was, okay, this is going to be an orderly way to process people. We're going to encourage people to do this coming to the border thing in an organized, safe manner that's going to be better for everyone, both them and the U.S. government trying to process them. But Trump said, nope, we're getting rid of CBP1, of this lawful means to seek asylum. And by the way, after you got let into the country after your CBP1 appointment, people were getting parole, which is permission to be here for, in most cases, 2 years. And Trump is saying, no, we're not going to do that anymore. All right. And the thing is, this program, is along with another one that I'm going to tell you about in a minute, were credited with bringing down drastically the number of people coming to the southern border and trying to cross like unauthorized at, not at an official checkpoint. In other words, it cut down on people trying to sneak into the country, because this program, and another one I'm going to tell you about in a minute, provided an actual legal, organized way to come seek asylum. And they helped to decrease the overall numbers of people coming to the southern border. But this is not something Trump is interested in. So the CBP1 application is not effective. And you can see that there were many thousands of people that actually had their CBP1 appointments scheduled for like the coming days that received a notification saying canceled. There were thousands of migrants who had hoped to enter the United States legally, but saw their long-awaited appointments canceled shortly after Trump was inaugurated Monday. And so there's videos, of people crying at a bridge that connects El Paso and Juarez, who were waiting for their CBP1 appointment, and they just found out that it's no more. I'm not going to do it. All right. Furthermore, we've got in immigration news from this week, potential immigration raids spark fear and protests on Inauguration Day from Capitol News, Illinois. And this is interesting because something actually did not happen that we had expected to happen. Speaking of these immigration raids, Trump's team, like his border czar, Tom Homan, and an advisor, Stephen Miller, had indicated that on day one, meaning January 20th, Inauguration Day, we should expect to see mass deportation efforts and mass raids, meaning immigration agents from ICE storming workplaces where there are a lot of migrant workers and looking for people that are undocumented, and going out into the streets and finding people, doing targeted arrests at the homes of undocumented people. And so we were expecting that on day one. And interestingly, it didn't happen. Chicago was actually forecast. In fact, Trump's own people said Chicago was where they were going to start this. But actually, it didn't happen. It was actually quiet. This is from Chicago. And it says that immigrant communities around Illinois braced Tuesday for threatened mass deportation. But this neighborhood they're talking about saw little foot traffic and no anticipated raids as of Tuesday afternoon, the second day of the Trump administration. So despite, Trump has vowed to carry out the largest mass deportation in history, and we can still expect it. To be clear, I'm not saying that we're not going to see raids and other massive enforcement action on immigration probably very soon. It just hasn't happened yet. It wasn't in the first couple days of the new Trump presidency. All right, this one, Trump administration from NPR. Trump administration strips schools, churches of immigration enforcement protections. This is big news because historically, ICE has had a policy that says, you know what, we're not going to go in and do arrests or look for people at schools or churches. Okay, those are kind of like sanctuaries or safe places where the policy, there's no law preventing it, but it's always been the policy of the U.S. government to not do immigration enforcement in those places. But now Trump's saying, forget that. We're getting rid of that rule. And you can imagine that, yeah, they're going to do immigration enforcement, meaning go try to arrest people to then deport them at places like schools and churches. Well, this is going to have a massive negative impact on schools. There's articles out there about how administrators and teachers and people at schools are struggling and seeing kids not show up at school already because their parents are afraid that if they go to school, they're going to get deported. Also, as it says here, healthcare facilities are also places where historically they have not gone to do arrest, but now that's back on the table. All right. Criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest, a DHS spokesperson said in a statement. The Trump administration will not tie the hands of our brave law enforcement and instead trust them to use common sense. So, look, like, how many people are they going to go actually arrest at schools and churches and healthcare facilities? Probably not a ton, to be honest with you. But this sends a strong message that the Trump administration is going no holds barred. Like, they want to send the message that, look, everyone is now vulnerable. You can't hide. You're not safe. That's really the fear that they want to spread is effectively being done through messages like this of, look, we might come get you at your school. We might come get you at your church while you're at the hospital, places like that. So it sends a powerful anti-immigrant message and stokes fear in immigrant communities, which is obviously not a healthy way to live for immigrants. It's also bad for public safety when, as pretty much any police, local police chief will say, it's terrible for public safety when immigrants feel like they can't go to the authorities. They become victims of crime, and it perpetuates crime when immigrants are scared of talking to the authorities. So that's where we are. Last thing, we've got Trump moves from the Miami Herald. Trump moves to end refugee resettlement and parole for Cubans, Haitians, and Venezuelans. What is this about? Two things. First of all, our refugee program, by which we bring people from other countries that are usually resettled in refugee camps. We vet them overseas. We establish that they're a refugee, and we bring them to the United States. That program is being paused. They're not going to bring anyone for the foreseeable future, for several months at least. But also, and probably more important to you guys, to our viewers, in our community here, is this bit about ending this parole for Cubans, Haitians, Venezuelans. Actually, also, they should add to this Nicaraguans. You see, there's this program called CHNV. It stands for Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, that the Biden administration started to give people from those countries a safe, orderly way to come to the United States. Because, look, there were a bunch of people from those countries coming to the southern border, and coming to the southern border is not the best way to do this, to have a structured, organized, safe immigration system. The Biden administration thought, rather than have them showing up unannounced at the border, let's do this in a more orderly way. Let's actually vet them while they're abroad. They can apply. They have to have a sponsor in the U.S. to sponsor them and show that their financial needs are going to be met. And the person gets vetted for security check purposes. And they were able to fly to the United States at their own expense. The U.S. government did not pay for this. And get into the country with parole, usually meaning they could stay for 2 years. And a lot of people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela came on this program. And as of now, it is gone. It's over. So, between this move of ending CHNV parole and basically sealing off the border, there were other things that I haven't talked about today that Trump did to essentially seal the border more. This is tough for a lot of people. It's going to create chaos for people that want to get asylum in the United States. That is where we are in the news. There's more that Trump has promised. For example, getting rid of temporary protected status, and maybe even not just not renewing it for certain countries, but also possibly proactively stripping it for certain countries. So people with parole through this CHMV program, or parole that came here, that got the parole after coming through the CBP1 process at the southern border, or people that have TPS, that's well over 1 million people. And they could be at risk of losing their status. And if they lose their status, then they could be put in deportation proceedings. You can protect against that probably by having an asylum application pending. Okay. If you're afraid of being harmed in your country, you should talk to an asylum lawyer right away about applying for asylum in the United States, because that could be a way, at least as of right now, under the current policies and the way the Trump administration is expected to handle things, and has been handled for many years. If you have an asylum application pending, you're unlikely to be put in deportation proceedings or to be arrested and deported. Instead, you'll have a chance to present and explain your asylum claim and have a chance to possibly win asylum. So the point is, having a pending asylum claim may be able to protect you from getting put in deportation proceedings or being actually arrested and deported. All right. I'm Brian Manning, and my law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right. Let us turn now to the questions. Let's see who we got. YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. How are you guys doing? All right, we got Bodrew. Oh, we already talked about those guys. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Nice. Mihir says, Brian, quick question. If I don't have photos of my injuries, does that hurt my asylum hearing? I have notes and prescription from a doctor from my native country. Good question. Thanks for asking it, Mihir. The question, hold on, Mihir. 1 second, Mihir. Yeah, so, the question is this. If you've been physically harmed in your country and you sustained injuries such that you actually have photos of those injuries, maybe it's bruises or cuts or whatever else, some kind of photos or videos that show the injuries, but you don't have access to them anymore, like you lost them or you can't get them, is that going to hurt your asylum case? The fact that you can't actually show the officer these photos? No, it's okay. Look, of course, the more evidence that you have that sort of backs up what you say, the better, including things like photos of your injuries. It would be great to have them, but listen, you shouldn't worry. It's okay. You can win without them. In fact, you can win without any evidence whatsoever. As long as your testimony, what you say on the day of your asylum interview, is detailed, consistent, and plausible, you can win asylum without any evidence whatsoever. All right. But look, you should try to get anything that you can that helps back up your case. You should have an asylum lawyer help you with that process. All right. Listen, if you guys want to talk with us, we would love to engage. We'd love to talk with you. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That is where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. We'd love to talk with you, see what's going on, get to know you, get to learn about, your aspirations, what you want to achieve with your immigration case and the life that you're trying to build here in the United States. And we want to tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you. If we think that we are, we're going to tell you exactly how we would do that, like what the concrete steps are that we would take to give you the best possible chance of securing your future in America through asylum. So you can schedule a consultation with us right now at winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. By the way, TikTok, when I was talking about all that news stuff earlier, you couldn't see what I was showing on my screen. Everyone else, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, you could see the screen, what I was showing on my screen. TikTok, listen, go to YouTube. YouTube's where I have all my best stuff. I've got some really detailed training videos on YouTube and some other, news updates and a lot more in-depth stuff than you're going to find on my TikTok channel. So if you really want to stay up to date and learn about asylum and learn about things that you need to know about to give yourself the best possible chance of securing your future in America through asylum, then you should go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. Be sure to subscribe there, okay? All right, let's see what questions we have. We've got, do I think that they might stop issuing work permits? We're waiting for a work permit and are worried about it. Do you think they might stop it? Good question. The question is this. Is Donald Trump going to stop giving work permits to asylum seekers? Look, the Trump administration showed last time that they were in office that they want to inflict as much pain as possible on immigrants in general and asylum seekers in particular. And taking away people's work permits or making it hard to get them is a good way to do that, right? Because the work permit is very important to your life, right? So listen, I've not heard anything indicating that they're going to try and stop them, try to stop issuing them or take them away from asylum seekers. I wouldn't be surprised though if it starts taking longer to adjudicate them. Right now, it's really quick for first-time applicants. it's usually about a month after you send it in that you get the approval and you get the card back in the mail, a little over a month. That could slide. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think you will still get your work permit. Okay, so look, I wouldn't worry about, the Amar, or who was it that asked that question? Amar, you said, you already applied, or you're worried about not getting it. I think you're going to get it. I think it'll probably still be soon. Okay. All right. Nice. We got Chamo says hello from Camilla, or Texas. Nice. Samuel joining us from Johnson City, Tennessee. Glad you're here. I'm Indian. I fled from India because I converted to Christianity. My parents forcibly sent me to Canada, but I don't know anyone there, so I came to the USA illegally without screening. Am I eligible for asylum? You mean like you top 5? You mean you crossed the border and you were you detained by authorities? By the U.S. immigration authorities? I'm guessing probably not, because you probably would have been sent back. But look, the question is this. Let's address it like this. The question is this. Can you get asylum in the United States if you come here from Canada? The answer is yeah, probably. Look, I say probably because there is this agreement that we have with them that says when someone comes to one of the countries, either Canada or the United States, they're supposed to seek asylum there. And if you cross the border illegally and go to the other one and you didn't seek asylum first in the first one, then that second country, the one that you crossed into, can just send you back. But it's in practice, whether that happens depends on various factors. It doesn't actually all happen in all the cases. Ultimately, this can be a tricky analysis, but you probably will be okay. Meaning, if you came here from Canada, whether you came on an airplane or whether you crossed the border, if you made it all the way into the United States, if you weren't detained at the border, especially, then you should be able to get asylum in the United States, because that agreement probably does not apply to you. But you should talk to an asylum lawyer, okay, and detail about your situation. All right. We got Sankit Kumar watching from Virginia. Nice. All right. Nice. What's going to Kamal says, what's going to happen to affirmative asylum seekers? We have to keep our documents with us while we are outside. Good question. I'm going to address it like this. The question is this. What's going to happen to affirmative asylum seekers during this second Trump administration? Look, the good news is that I think people who have a case pending with USCIS are going to be less affected by Trump's anti-immigrant policies than people in immigration court, and certainly less so than people that are coming to the border now after Trump has resumed the presidency. But that's not to say that it's going to be great for people with USCIS. I do think it's going to be harder to win asylum. I think there will be some concrete policy changes that will exclude whole groups of people from being eligible, or from actually winning asylum at least. And then there will generally also just be a general atmosphere, anti-immigrant atmosphere, that makes it harder to win and leads to more denials. But you can still win. Keep the faith. It's going to be possible to win under Trump. You got to present a great case. You should definitely talk to an asylum lawyer. Okay. Should you keep your documents, with you if you're out on the street, or what? Like, should you carry with you something that shows that you're an asylum seeker? Look, it couldn't hurt to carry around your asylum receipt notice, a copy of it. That's probably a good idea. Yeah, it probably is. The letter that you got that says, hey, we have received your application and it's pending as of X date. Probably be a good idea to have that, because it does show that you have permission to be in the country. Remember, applying for asylum doesn't technically give you legal status, but you do have permission to be in the country while your case runs its course. And that letter actually says that. It says you have permission to remain in the country while your case remains pending. Probably couldn't hurt. Probably is a good idea. Yeah, to carry that copy of that paper with you. Georgi, I'm guessing from Georgia. Yeah. Says, hello, I have a lawyer already who sent the asylum application for me and work authorization. We haven't started the case yet, but I'm not sure what you're saying with that next clause, but can I change my lawyer? Will it be a problem? My hearing is in June. Good question. DT, by the way, thanks for all your comments. Thanks for juicing the algorithm. We appreciate it. Georgi's question. The question is this: can you change asylum lawyers after you've already applied, while your case is already underway? Is it too late to change? Are you stuck with your first lawyer? Thankfully, the answer is you can change lawyers at really any moment. Look, you need to do it. If you're going to do it, you need to do it well before your individual hearing. I would say at least 3 months before your final hearing in immigration court. If your case is pending with USCIS, the sooner the better as well, actually. It's not a problem. Changing lawyers is not looked down upon by the judge or by the asylum officer. It's not a red flag. It doesn't look weird. It happens all the time. Okay. It's just not an issue at all. You need to decide who you think, what lawyer gives you the best possible chance of winning your case, and go with them, even if that's not your original lawyer. If you need to change to do that, you should do that. This is your future we're talking about. It's too important to not give yourself the best chance for asylum success. Okay? It's easy. It's not a problem. It's not a big deal. It's good. If you think someone can do a better job and help you to increase your chances more, then you need to change, in my opinion. Okay. All right. No, James says I already filed I-730. Will the Trump administration affect my application? I'm from Niger. It might slow it down. Yeah. Honestly, look, one of the things, let me address it like this. The question is this: is processing in general going to slow down at USCIS under Trump's second administration? Look, they're going to pass some concrete policies and rules that are going to make it harder, if not impossible, for certain people to get immigration benefits like asylum and green cards and citizenship. But they're also just going to make it painful and hard for immigrants. And one of the ways that they can do that is by just slowing things down, by not giving USCIS the resources that it needs to process applications. And with that, the backlogs will just continue to grow and things will take longer. In fact, on day one of his new presidency, Trump announced a freeze on federal hiring, meaning the government's going to stop hiring people for a while. That will lead to greater backlogs, including for pretty much everything at USCIS, including the I-730. Pretty much everything, probably, unfortunately. But listen, if your asylum case has been pending for multiple years with USCIS, you should talk to an asylum lawyer about suing the government to force them to give you your interview. This asylum delay lawsuit is super powerful. We've been using it to great effect. Our clients love it because it works. All right. If you've been waiting for multiple years, I think you should try to consider action to move your case forward, because in general, the sooner that you get your asylum decision, the better. Your interview and your decision, the better. And you may be able to push your case forward through what's called a mandamus lawsuit. We often call it an asylum delay lawsuit, but technically or formally it's called a mandamus lawsuit. Okay. I am going to drop in the chat, in the comment, our webpage where you can schedule a consultation with us. If you want to talk about suing the government to move your case forward, get your stalled asylum case unstuck. Maybe you're thinking about applying for asylum. Maybe you've already applied and you've decided, you know what, I need to strengthen my case. I want to do better and give myself the best possible chance to win. Then we would love to talk with you in the context of an asylum strategy session where one of our asylum professionals is going to get to know you, get to understand your situation, do an analysis, and tell you whether we think we're in a position to help you. If we think that we can add value, we think we can help you to increase your chances for success, we're going to explain to you in some detail exactly how to do that, or how we will do that, what our plan is, what our asylum action plan is for giving you the best possible chance to secure your future in America through asylum. Okay. Georgi, I just wanted to go back to this. And look, we should talk. Georgi, I hope you'll schedule a consultation. You don't need to call us. You don't need to wait and do this later. You can literally right now open up a new tab on your computer screen or on your phone and type in WINASYLUM.com, and you can schedule a consultation. It's super quick and easy. So I hope you'll do that. All right. Chris Siegel says, what happens now with the parole? Good question. The question is this: what happens to people who are in the United States on parole status now that Donald Trump is back in office and has said that he's going to get rid of a bunch of parole programs? Look, Donald Trump has already put an end to CBP1, the process by which you can come to the southern border and schedule an appointment to start the asylum seeking process in an orderly, safe way. Trump on day one said, nope, we're not doing that anymore. Trump also has said they're going to discontinue the CHNV program, by which people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela have been coming to the U.S. By airplane at their own expense, not the government's, to come to the country and given parole once they get here. What about people that are already here through those programs and have parole? Is it going to be taken away? I don't know. There's a chance. They've said they might try to do that. There's a chance. If you fear being harmed in your country and you haven't applied for asylum, you should talk to an asylum lawyer now, because that might protect you. What do I mean by that? Look, if you've got parole, whether it's through CBP1, CHNV, or any other means, if that parole status, well, when it ends or if it gets terminated, if it gets proactively taken away from you, you're going to be eligible to be deported or put into deportation proceedings because you don't have legal status. And you're probably going to be able to avoid being put in deportation proceedings if you have an asylum application pending, because the government's policy has been, and so far we believe it will continue to be the Trump administration's policy, to not put into deportation proceedings people that have an asylum claim pending. Okay. So if you fear being harmed in your country, you should talk with an asylum lawyer about whether it makes sense for you to apply for asylum. Okay. Oh, no, Jim, you said earlier, I think you forgot to I thought you typed Niger, but you said Nigeria, in fact. Nice. Is what Trump's saying all bluffing then? Who is at risk? No, Camel, most immigrants are at some kind of risk, or at least more risk than they were under Biden. All right. Yeah. Kenan Ahmed says, I have CBP1 on my phone and I'm in Milwaukee. I have to look for appointments every Friday. On the other hand, if I check my case status, it says there is no future hearing for this case pending. Oh, you mean you check your case status on the immigration court's website? Yeah, it says that sometimes when there's not a hearing scheduled, but your case is still in process. There's just not a hearing scheduled right now. You can get a hearing scheduled. You can probably get the judge to schedule a hearing if your lawyer does a certain process of doing written pleadings and then a motion to schedule the individual hearing. We usually recommend that because we think that for most people, the sooner that you get to have your case heard, you get to present your case, the better your chances for success. All right. What Osiris says, how do you think Venezuelan cases will do under Trump? By the way, Osiris, we have a Spanish language YouTube channel. If you search for Asilo Aprobado, you can find our Spanish language YouTube channel, Asilo Aprobado. I think Venezuelan, listen, I think approval rates are going to go down for pretty much everyone. And I don't see why Venezuelans or Burmese, the night shifters, I don't see why any particular nationality or group would be exempt from that. Okay. It's not going to be impossible. Look, we can still win. We're going to win. We're going to keep winning asylum under Trump. It's going to happen. We did it last time, and we're going to do it again, but you got to do even better. You got to put together the strongest case possible, both in writing and then in the way that you prepare for your asylum interview. The preparation is absolutely critical. All right. With our clients, we do a full scale mock interview. And then a day or two or three later, we do a follow-up, what we call a debrief session, where we go back and we give them feedback and just give them all of our best tips so that they're really prepared and confident and ready to do a good job when it's time for the real interview. All right. If you want to talk with us about that, about possibly getting a mock interview, or full scale representation for all of your case, we'd love to talk with you about it. You can do that by scheduling a consultation at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. All right. Dogo Khan says, I'm an LGBTQ asylum seeker. What's my chance to win asylum under the new administration? Look, they're not going to, Dogo Khan, I don't think they're going to do anything that makes it harder, in particular for LGBTQ plus community members to get asylum. But as I said earlier, I think it's going to be harder for everyone. I think the approval rates are going to go down in general, so it's going to be even harder. Olga in LA says, how much do you charge for an asylum case? Olga, it depends on a couple of factors. Depends on whether you've already applied or not. It depends on whether it is an affirmative asylum case with USCIS or instead what we call a defensive immigration case, meaning that your process is already with the immigration court. So it depends on various things. But I can tell you right now, we charge $6,500 for a mandamus lawsuit, an asylum delay lawsuit. But for actual representation in your in an asylum case, it ranges from $10,000 to $14,000, depending on a few factors. So we'll tell you exactly what it would be in your case if you do a consultation with us, and you can schedule that at WINASYLUM.com. All right, Olga, we'd like to talk with you. I hope you'll go over to winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. Nick on YouTube says, I filed affirmative asylum 8 months ago and I still haven't gotten my interview. When will I get my interview? I came on an F1 visa. Good question. The question is this. When can you expect to get your asylum interview with USCIS if you applied several months ago, like 6, 7, 8 months ago? Well, listen, we can't say with any certainty when you're going to get your interview, but I got to tell you, honestly, if you applied more than like 4 months ago, maybe 5, and you still haven't gotten your interview, I think there's a good chance that you have fallen into the big backlog and that they're probably not going to get your interview for a very long time, probably for years. And this may sound strange because for people that are applying for asylum right now in the last few months, most of those people are actually getting their interviews right away. So, you may have been waiting 8 months and you hear about a friend who applies right now in January and they get their interview in February or early March or something. And you're like, but wait, I applied first. It's the policies are complicated around scheduling, but it's true. If you applied several months ago, you're probably in a big backlog. If you apply now, good chance you'll get your interview very quickly. Okay. We got Sink and Yolanda talking in what I presume is Turkish. We have lots of Turkish clients. We've had a lot of success with Turkish cases. And if you want to talk, we're happy to do that. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. All right. Good. This is a good question from Ite and Joe Bertrand. Says, hey, Ryan, nice to hear from you today. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. You too. My question is, if you have an affidavit, medical records, arrest warrants as evidence, do you still have to study them too, or just your story? Good question. The question is this. When you're preparing for your asylum interview, what do you need to study and to really know to prepare? Is it enough just to be really familiar with your declaration? Or do you also need to know, study, and be very familiar with your supporting documents as well? Supporting documents, by that I mean if you things like other evidence, like if you have a police report that you submitted, or photos of injuries, or witness letters from other people, any kind of documentary evidence, right? The answer is you need to know both. You need to be very familiar with both. Look, the declaration, no doubt, is more important. Like, you need to basically memorize the declaration, but you also need to be very familiar with the contents of the other supporting documents as well, because you may be asked about them and you may notice things as you're studying them that don't make sense or that look like they could be an inconsistency. And so you need to prepare to be ready to deal with that at your asylum interview in case it comes up. Okay, so the answer is both. Like, I would spend a little more time on the declaration, but yeah, you need to be familiar with everything you submitted. Okay. Ted Fox, interesting question about Russians. A lot of Russians staying in detention and not being released in immigration detention. That's an interesting question. What will Trump do? Will they do that? Will it be different? I don't know. John, yeah, I don't know. I really don't have a good idea for that one. John says, do you refund failed cases? Like, is there a money back guarantee? No. If you find an immigration lawyer that offers a refund on asylum cases, it's a red flag. You might want to think twice about working with them. Having said that, I think it's different. I think we are so confident in our asylum delay lawsuits that I've considered offering a money back guarantee for people at least that meet certain conditions on our asylum delay lawsuits, our mandamus lawsuits, because look, the truth is, but before I say this, let me say that past performance does not guarantee future results. Now, having said that, I want to tell you that we filed well over 100 of these asylum delay lawsuits in the last year and a half or so, and we haven't lost a single one yet. It's a super powerful tool. Our clients love it because it works. Because it's so effective, I've considered offering a money-back guarantee on our asylum delay lawsuit service. I haven't yet, though, but I would never do that on asylum. Yeah, and I would think twice about going with a lawyer who does for an asylum case. All right. Ken from Turkey says, do you think they're going to accelerate the decision-making process on affirmative asylum applications? I've applied for affirmative asylum living in Florida. Nice. So the question is this. Are affirmative asylum cases going to be accelerated under Trump's second administration? Are people going to move through that process faster? Well, look, you may be surprised to hear that it's actually going really fast already. It has been going really fast for several months for people that have applied in the last several months. Now, listen, everyone knows of people in their communities that have been waiting 4 years, 8 years, 10 years for an asylum interview. There's a massive backlog and there's a lot of people waiting many years for an interview. However, due to the scheduling priorities of USCIS and the fact that fewer people have been coming to the southern border to seek asylum over the last few months, these factors together have led to a situation where people who have applied recently in the last few months, most people are getting their interviews right away in like 1 to 3 months. I do expect that to continue, at least for the foreseeable future under Trump. So if you apply now, you've got to be ready to present your case and do a great job. Okay. Good question. Should I apply for TPS for additional protection? I already have a work permit. The question is this. If you've got an asylum case pending, but you think that you're eligible for temporary protected status, TPS, should you in fact go ahead and apply for TPS, or are you okay to just, hang back with your pending asylum case? Look, you should apply for TPS. I believe that you should seek every available opportunity to get legal status here, even if it's not permanent. Remember, TPS is not permanent, but sometimes it's long lasting. Sometimes the U.S. government keeps renewing TPS for certain countries for a long time. There's people from El Salvador who've been here for like 30 years or something on TPS. You should not just think, oh no, I got a good asylum case, I don't need TPS. Don't do that. Give yourself a chance, another chance, a backup to at least maintain legal status, at least for a while. And remember, if your asylum case is denied, you also lose your work permit, okay? But TPS can offer you that work permit. You don't want a gap in your work availability to work, all right? So yeah, apply for TPS if you think you're eligible. At least talk to an immigration lawyer about it. Okay. If you were unknown says, if you were paroled from ICE detention after a positive credible fear determination, should you be worried about being picked up by ICE? Good question. The question is this. if you had a credible fear interview while you were detained in immigration detention and you got a positive decision and then they let you go, they released you, do you need to worry about getting picked up, arrested by Trump's deportation force? I don't think so. No, I've not heard anything to indicate that his team is planning on going after people in this position. Look, the policy of the U.S. government for many years has been to not arrest people and not try to deport people, not put them in deportation proceedings if they have a pending asylum case. Your case, if you came to the border and you were detained and released and got a positive credible fear detention, your cases should be with immigration court. And the government, I still have confidence, even though it's Trump, I have confidence that they're going to let you pursue your case to the end, and they're not going to detain you while that case is ongoing. Okay. So the good news is, yeah, like I wouldn't worry about it in this case about getting picked up. Okay. Look, you never know for sure, but right now I'm pretty confident that you do not need to worry. Okay. Kevin says, I'm Kevin on a student visa. I filed for asylum. Am I safe with Trump's administration? Same answer I just gave. I think you're okay. I think while your asylum application is pending, that it's very unlikely that you're going to get, arrested or that they're going to try to deport you or put you in deportation proceedings. Okay. Let's see. Meower says, y'all, what did I miss? Y'all, what did I miss? Meower, I mean, it'll be on, you can find the replay of this on YouTube in a few minutes after I finish. And, Meower, to answer your question, I went over some news updates, from the first days of the Trump administration affecting immigration. All right. Berus Pisar says, if you're in an asylum court process and waiting for your first court hearing without any criminal record, are you in danger right now? I think the danger of getting picked up and arrested by ICE is low. I think no, you should not worry. All right. Let's go. Nice. Okay. What else? Let's see what other questions we have. I just completed my interview. The decision is out and I'm placed in court proceedings. I'm sorry to hear that, Adeleke. My first appearance is March 6th. Do I need an attorney for the first appearance? Good question. The question is this. Should you take an asylum lawyer with you for your first hearing in immigration court? We're talking here about what's called the master calendar hearing. Weird name, I know. This first hearing in immigration court, it's true that it's mainly administrative in nature. You don't need to be ready to explain and fight your case. It's not the hearing where that happens. However, sometimes, important things do happen at this hearing. There are surprises sometimes and things that happen that can actually affect your case, that can make a difference in your chances for success or not. So the answer is, you definitely should have a lawyer for this, okay? It's part of the process. Everything in the process is important. And even though it's not the day where you really have to explain your case, it's still important. And so, I do think it's best for you to have an asylum lawyer. We'd be happy to talk. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, and schedule a consultation now. Okay? Adeleke, we'd love to talk with you. Saeed Ali says, I'm under TPS status. I'm going to have a new baby after a couple months. So will this affect my newborn's citizenship? Well, if you watch the beginning of this this Asylum Answer show, Saeed, I said that, Trump has said they're not going to acknowledge or recognize citizenship of people that are born here to someone who doesn't have a parent with either U.S. citizenship or permanent residency. So, unfortunately, if you go and try to apply for a passport for your child, if you just have TPS, neither you nor the child's mother have U.S. citizenship or permanent residency, then as of right now, the State Department is probably going to say, nope, sorry, we don't recognize you as a citizen. However, after some time, the courts are probably going to strike down that policy, and then you'll be able to get that passport, and your child will be recognized as a U.S. citizen. Okay. Bell says, "Hi Brian, should I apply for TPS for additional protection? I already have a work permit. If it's based on based on your pending asylum case? Yeah. If you think as I said earlier, if you think you're eligible for TPS, you should apply. It can only help you to have that extra layer of protection. Okay. Yes. All right. Meower says, "Can ICE arrest me regardless of my affirmative asylum seeking status if they don't believe me?" Technically, yes. I don't think they will. I don't think you have to worry, Meower, okay? All right, Abel, you got to stop spamming over here. Pratham Sood says, hi, can people coming from different countries apply for asylum on a tourist visa? I just want to know if you would not get deported right now on asylum. The question is this: is it possible to seek asylum in the United States when you come here on a tourist visa? The answer is yes. Many, many people do that. They come to the United States, they enter the country, they get all the way into the country on their tourist visa, and then they decide to apply for asylum, which you do with USCIS. And then eventually you'll have an asylum interview with an asylum officer, which is what I used to be. I was an asylum officer with USCIS. Where you present your case. But a lot goes into it. If you want to give yourself the best possible chance for asylum success, then you got to really do a good job of setting forth your case in writing on paper and preparing intensively for your asylum interview. So you'll do a good job. But yeah, you can come on a tourist visa or a student visa or really any kind of visa and be able to seek asylum in the United States. All right. Triple S says raids happened at some high schools in Arizona yesterday. Oh wow, I hadn't seen that. I'm gonna Google that when I get off here. That's tough. Do you think wait times for an interview will increase for fresh cases from now on? No. As of right now, I think that I foresee it going very quickly for most people who apply for asylum right now. That a lot of people will be getting their interviews within 1 to 3 months after applying. Okay. Nice. All right. What's TPS? Temporary protected status. It's for people from certain countries that they can get exactly what the name says, temporary protected status, where you get permission to stay here for a while because of certain conditions in your country, and the U.S. has decided that it's in our interest to allow people from those countries to stay for at least a while. All right. Is it going to get harder? BMVA says, well, green card for asylee, what do you think? Will it get harder? Good question. The question is this: is it going to be harder for people to get their green card based on asylum now that Trump is back in power? So we're talking here about people that apply for permanent residency after having won asylum. Because remember, after you win asylum, you can apply for a green card known as permanent residency. And 1 year after you've won asylum, USCIS can actually approve your green card application. Is that going to be harder under Trump? Yeah, I think it could be. Yeah, I think most immigration benefits that people apply for, including green cards, are going to be harder to get. There's going to be more suspicion. It's going to be an atmosphere where they see fraud. These officers see fraud under every rock, and they give more scrutiny to every application, and they pick them apart, and they find little things they think that they can point to justify a denial by saying, oh, there's inconsistencies here. So yeah, look, it's not going to be impossible, but yeah, it's probably going to be harder. That means you need to do a better job than ever with your green card application and preparation for a potential interview. Okay. Samuel says, waiting for the interview date to come. Is it possible to move the case to another country for the interview? I assume you meant to say state, right? That's the question that I'm going to address. The question is this. Can you change asylum offices while your case is pending. While you're waiting for your asylum interview, can you move your case from one asylum office to another? Look, where your asylum case is considered, where the office that it's with, and where you will have your interview is dictated by where you live. And if you change your address, if you actually move from the jurisdiction or the area that your asylum office covers into the jurisdiction of another asylum office, then yeah, your case will change. It'll move from the old office to the office that covers your new area where you live. It's automatic with USCIS. You don't have an option. As soon as you tell them that you've moved by filing form AR11, they look, and if they see that you moved into the jurisdiction or the area of responsibility of a different asylum office, they automatically transfer your case to that office, which means you could, if you wanted, move into the jurisdiction of an asylum office with a higher approval rate. You should actually, if you want to do that, you need to actually move, okay? Don't commit immigration fraud by lying and just giving an address of a friend or somebody or whatever, in San Francisco because there's a higher approval rate there when you're not actually living there. You should only, don't do that. Don't commit immigration fraud, all right? If you want to take advantage of a higher approval rate, you would need to actually move to that place, okay? All right. Nice. Gotcha on YouTube says, "Hey Brian, should we put absolutely all the little details in our asylum personal statement?" Good question. The question is this: should you include every last detail, all the details of your case in your asylum declaration or your written statement or personal statement, we sometimes call these, or should you, just sort of hit the main points and not provide a ton of detail? Here's the thing. You want to keep this thing pretty short. You want to focus on just the most important things and keep this thing between 3 and 4 pages long, okay? So there's not a lot of space, but with regard to the most important incidents, you should provide a fair amount of detail, yes. But listen, no, you don't have to provide every single detail you can think of about an incident of harm or a threat, but you do need to speak in some detail to them and use language that, that indicates that you're not necessarily including every detail, but you'll be happy to testify about any kind of detail at your asylum interview, okay? Look, I've got a training on YouTube. Gotcha. I've got a training on interview, training on YouTube called How to Craft the Perfect Personal Statement. If you go to YouTube and you search how to craft the perfect personal statement for your asylum case, you'll find my training. It's like 30 minutes long or something where I give a lot of guidance on how to do a good asylum declaration, okay? All right. Nice. The Comfort Corner says, "Do you know what are the chances of getting asylum for Tibetans?" I don't know. We could look it up. I think they're decent though. We've had success with Tibet, cases from Tibet, and I know that some very legitimate real cases come out of there. So it's definitely possible. I don't know what the statistics are, but it's definitely possible. All right. Nice. Adonai Ermia says, "Now that CBP1 is closed, is there a chance for affirmative asylum cases to be scheduled quicker?" Good question. The question is this: given that the CBP1 application has been ended, no longer in use, does this mean that affirmative asylum cases are going to go through even faster? There is a connection here. The fewer people that come to the southern border, the fewer credible fear interviews asylum officers have to do. You see, USCIS has this policy that says when people come to the southern border and they seek asylum, including through the CBP1 app, then asylum officers have to prioritize doing telephone credible fear interviews with those people. And doing that pulls officers away from affirmative asylum interviews. That's why the backlog grew so big, is because of that is the main reason. So yeah, the fact that there's going to be fewer people coming to the southern border in part because of Trump's policies. It does free up officers to do affirmative asylum interviews, and that will help things move quicker. They already are moving quick for most people who apply recently. Okay. Most people who have applied in the last few months have gotten their interview pretty much right away within 1 to 3 months of applying. So if you're applying now, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to go. Put that case together and get prepared. Okay. All right. Nice. Thank you very much. Ali Jonas says, Brian, can I apply for TPS when I only have 3 months left before my individual hearing, my final hearing? Yeah, definitely. And I think you should. Okay. Right away. This is tough. Gustavo Corso, by the way, Gustavo, we have if it helps, we have a Spanish language YouTube channel called Asilo Aprobado. We help tons of Venezuelans. Like almost half our clients are Venezuelans. Gustavo, we know these cases really well. I handled a ton of them when I was an asylum officer at the Houston Asylum Office. Gustavo says, asylum seeker since 2017 with approved TPS. My child was born in 2020 in Houston, and we recently requested an appointment to get her passport. Do you foresee any issues? We have her birth certificate. Parents are from Venezuela. Yeah, I do foresee issues, unfortunately, Gustavo. If you go now, because the other day, Trump said he instructed the State Department to not recognize as U.S. citizens people that were born here if they don't have a parent who was either a U.S. citizen or a green card holder at the time the child was born. So yeah, I think that they're going to just cancel your appointment if it's already been scheduled, or you're going to show up and they're going to say, sorry, we can't give you a passport. We can't recognize your U.S. citizenship for your child. I do think in the end that's going to change. I think that the courts are going to say otherwise, and this policy will be reversed and ended, and your child will eventually be able to get a passport, but it's probably going to take some time. But listen, when that happens, when that happens, you should apply again right away if you don't get it this first time around. Gustavo, we should talk. If you've been waiting for your asylum interview since 2017, you are in a very good position to have success with an asylum delay lawsuit. We've been doing this a ton, including in Houston, where I used to be an asylum officer, and it works. And I think the sooner that you have your asylum claim considered, the sooner you have your interview and you get your decision, the better your chances for success. So Gustavo, we should talk. Go to winasylum.com, or you can go to asiloahora.com para programar una consulta. Okay? All right. All right. Gonna get there. Nice. Very nice. Thank you. Okay. Olga, important. You have reliable information that ICE is going to start doing raids on Friday in Los Angeles. Interesting. Look, Shazad Khan says on YouTube, if asylum is refused by USCIS when the I-94 is still valid, what are the options as USCIS will not transfer the case to court? I'll come on a B2 visa. The question is this. What are your options if USCIS issues a final denial in your case? What can you do if you still want to get asylum? Look, if you have legal status, whether it's tourist status still, or student status, or any other kind of status, or parole, or TPS, if you have any of that stuff at the moment that USCIS makes a negative decision on your asylum claim, they don't send your case to immigration court. You don't get a chance to explain your case in front of the judge. Instead, they just say denied, and you keep having that other status that you had until it expires. What can you do if you want to get asylum? Usually nothing. Technically, you can do what's called a motion to reconsider, where you ask the asylum office director to reverse the decision because it was wrong. We do this only in very rare cases when we feel extremely strongly, very, 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 very strong, that there was a clear error of law in the decision. But we only do it rarely, in rare cases, and it rarely works. Okay, so basically none. Like you really, for all intents and purposes, except in the rarest of cases, you have no options. You're not going to get asylum, unfortunately. Okay, if things change, like in your country, or something with you changes, such that now after this change, there's like a much greater chance of winning, such because you're in like much greater danger, then you could apply again based on a changed circumstance. But yeah, that's about it. All right. Anti-Scam Police TV points out that the U.S. is a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention and 1967 Protocol that protects vulnerable groups fleeing persecution. How are people going to seek asylum at points of entry based on Trump's stance? They're probably not going to be able to for a while. Look, yeah, you're right. We're definitely treaty to conventions, and we have domestic law that says we should be giving people the chance to seek asylum. But it looks like Trump's team doesn't care that much about it. They're finding ridiculous, senseless justifications to try to get around these obligations and laws. And the question is whether the courts will let them. And then even if the courts say no, there's questions about whether, whether Trump's people are going to respect the orders of a judge or not. So yeah, it's I get what you're saying. It's like, yeah, we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to let people apply for asylum, but it's not clear that we will, for people that come to the border, especially. All right. That is it for today. Yeah, nice. That's it for today. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers. We help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. If you want to talk with us, I hope you'll go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation right now. All right. WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation with one of our asylum professionals. We want to talk with you, see what's going on, and tell you whether we think we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. All right. All right, guys. Until the next time, take care. Have a good one.